Our electric motor division service department of the SD45 section 3 locomotive service manual with the cooling system. The cooling system is pressurized to provide the uniform cooling throughout the operating with the range of the diesel engine schematic with the diagram shown figure 3.1 with the cooling is pumped by the engine mount with the pump with the cooling water expansion with the tank of lubricating oil pump with the cooler assembly into the engine with the head reheated water leaving the engine flow through the radiator with the assembly with the manipulator closed. Water is cooled with the cooling water requiring the oil cooler to repeat the cycle with the water pump with the water with the engine mount with the water pump with the pipe with the air compressor with the air no valve within the line with the air compressor cooling will be provided with the air for the engine is running upon with leaving the air compressor with the water pipe through the temperature with the stress of the manifold, then back into the water tank with the recirculation temperature sensing element located with the manifold, operating with the switch with the control radiator fan shutting operates with the hot engine alarm part of the water with the engine mounted with the pump into the pipe and the cap heater shutting off the valve located with the supply line in the heaters, and now the shut off valve is located in the return line with the cap heaters. These valves with the figure 3-2 along with the cooling of the system drain with the emergency heater with the drain valve located in the sump between the engine and accessory rack. Applies to the SD45. The entire cooling system must be divided with drained by the operating cooling system drain valve provided with the cap heater supply with the turn of the valves open with the heater operated for the necessary with the independent drain with the cap heater for the heater with the supply with the return with the valve with the getting closed with the emergency heater drain valve open the cost whenever the heater supply with the return valve with the close with the good practice to open the emergency cap heater drain valve with the drain cap heater associated with the piping allowing the check to see with the drain high drain better heater drain valve with the slightly closed before operating with the cap heater supply returning the valve. Heat temperature control. During circulation for the diesel engine with the air compressor for the cooling system water pick up the heat with which it must be dissipated with the heat dissipated with the water temperature control with the meaning of the radiator assembly the AC motor driven with the cooling fan. For the radiator assembly with the hatch from the top of the long hood with the end of the locomotive with the hatch contained with the radiator section which are grouped in two banks with three AC motors driving the cooling fan with which are operating independently are located with the roof above the radiator for the mount. They are numbers 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3 from the rear from front to rear with the number 1 fan being closing to the shutter located at the range of the side of the hood adjacent to the radiator for the operator with the air cylinder with the control of the shutter magnet or the SMV. Control of the fan and shutter with the flash of the water temperature engine entirely automatic. Okay, back to this page which was less blank. This showed the cooling system pictorial diagram. We'll read the bottom one. Air compressor, the flexible couplings, temperature switch, manifold, radiators, water tank, oil cooler, water pump, engine drain, two cap headers, the combination of the crankcase, oil fan pressure, low water pressure, the turbocharger, air after cooler inline from the engine to the radiator, through the radiator to the water tank, the venturi to the oil cooler, and also around the oil cooler to the left bottom water pump, the right bottom water pump, low water detector into the engine. Also from the then around from the row between the engines of the low water and low LB right bank and left bank water pump. The heater supply line with the air compressor and also with it has a cooling system drain valve and emergency drain valve back to the number 1, number 2 cab heaters and heater return valve line to temperature and figure 3-2 engine cabinet heater drain valve. The one is the cab heater. One is the cab heater heater return line valve. The 2 is the cab heater line supply line valve. The 3 is the cooling system drain valve. 4 is the emergency cab drain valve. The temperature control switch figure 3-3 is the name of the TA, TB, and TC with the switch with the, located with the equipment rack with the flange with the mount with the manifold. This installed with the cooling system piping them over this with the water discharge with the compressor for the axe, applying with the thermal elements with the term with the cup with the switch with the respond with the establishment, the electrical circuit with the bearing, the cooling fan for the contact with the cooling fan contactors designated with the AC1, AC2, AC3 with these contactors are located with the cabinet mounted on the equipment rack. The 2 figure 3A with when they energize the electrical connect respectively the AC cooling fans, the alternate current supply with the alternate to run the fans. The figure 3-3 shows the switching engine temperature switching circuit diagram. The TA, TB, TC, and ETS with the temperature control switches are marked for the T through ABC series. Thermal wall and an ETS switch, which is engine temperature switch. Thermal wall. Show the test button. TA, TB, TBC switches. AC1, and the AC2 and AC3. Which are both different lines going to the alternator, the cooling fans. Okay, the temperature control switch A picks up at the first engine drive of the AC1, AC with the L for the start of the number 1 cooling fan, sync with the service of close with the fan receive with the reverse flow through the adjacent non-operating cooling fans, cool oil filters. Cool airflow over the radiator's temperature A switch is not the interlock with the cooling switch. The temperature A switch and opens to indicate the T13 temperature T13 and the TC. When the TA drop of the engine energizes the AC1 AC1 cooling fan stops at the fan with the temperature switch B series picks up next with the energizing AC2 fan with start the number 2 cooling fan establishes. First part holding the circuit with the AC3 with the simultaneously energized the shutdown with the magnet with the shutdown magnet valve with the SMV with the applying with the air pressure for the open the shutter with the shut allowing the patch for the airflow of the radiator the temperature B series switch drops and energized with the AC2 fan the turn of the release of the shutter motor magnet valve break the holding circuit with the AC3. The temperature C switch, Series C switch picks up the last of the energize the AC fan, which starts with number 3, complete with the holding and circle the AC fan with the third fan, the O1 start with the both number 2 and the number 3 fans operate with the temperature B switch drop out with the break of the holding circle. The operating of the temperature A, T, A, B, and T, C, with given the server the data page during the operation outside side of the air, either drawn by the single operating fan through the remaining of the non-operating fan with the over the top of the radiator for the greater cooling required with the additional fan with all fans with the energize with the sliding short outside shutters are open. The air is drawn through the shutter of the radiator with the flow of the air over through the radiator to pick up the heat with the circulating with the water. The heat is then discharged through the roof of the locomotive. Since the shutters are closed, the locomotive large percentage of the operating time lifts air with accompanying the dirt with is drawn through these radiator with the greater lenses with a chance of the choosing collecting the radiator's information covering the shutter opening position over the period of the section 5 of compressed air. Alright, cooling system pressurization. Cooling system pressure right within creep with the boiling point with the coolant prevent with the circulation cavitation of the water pump during the transit high temperature conditions such that operation through the long tunnel with the pressure cap of the figure 3-4 with the water and the water tank with the filler pipe opens approximately 7 psi relieving the excessive pressure to prevent the damage of the cooling system going with the cap of the equipment the vacuum break of the valve of the operating system cools for the serve the data page with the pressure cap of the operating limit the identified number 3-4 with the cooling system pressure cap the free height of the vacuum brake valve with the identifying the number that here that move slowly and tightly turn tightly. Hot engine alarm. Hot engine alarm switch will also cover the water temperature of the outlet from the engine approach with the boiling water pump with the measure press system with does not have the temperature the switching sensing element. The heat allows loss between the engine outlet with the temperature switch. Therefore, the switch is calibrated to pick up the lower temperature of the temperature. However, there is close to the normal boiling point of the water, which is lower than the boiling point with the water pressurized system. With which the switch picks up the alarm with the will. All unit that consists of the hot engine with the red will come in snip the affected. The alarm can be silenced only by reducing the cooling system temperature to the normal level. The engine water temperature may be readily checked with the meaning of the gauge located with the water inlet leading to the left bank water pump. The gauge is color coded, indicated cold blue, normal green, and red hot. Engine temperature. More accurate with the check of the engine water temperature might be maintained with the plate with the thermometer well located with the temperature switch manifold 3-3 with the proper operating temperature for the engine temperature switch with the given to the serve the data low water shutdown lower detecting device figure 3-5 with the balancing water pressure for the gains for the air box with the pressure for the water pressure for the valve with the device the pump dumps for the oil pressure for the governor supply with the cutting the engine shutdown when there's no air box with the pressure with the engine with the shutdown there's a spring pressure for the spring pressure must be activated again for the water pressure in order to keep the device latched for the on the strip of the device with the static water the pressure working when against with the spring with the pressure will not keep the device latched in the engine shutdown. This is not necessarily indication for the device of the defective but merely necessary for the reset of the device immediately after the engine starts. Figure 3-5 low water pressure crankcase oil pan detector. Low water relief for test cock of the valve and event and testing opening of the crankcase pressure reset. And if the low water detector latches with the engine shutdown, it still may trip of the engine for the start of the particularly with the engine for this cold, but after the pressure with the system has been relieved for the reason of the trip of the being of the water pump that may have the tape the until the water is drawn to the makeup of the tank of the distributed with the radiator with the proper circulation tripping the device of the engine with the start with the not an indication for the device the defect of the immediately necessary reset of the device immediately after the engine starts. Operating water level. An operating water level instruction plate with figure 3-6 with the provided with the next water level of the cycle after the instruction indicate the minimum and maximum water level of an engine running stop of the water level of the mark should not be permitted to go below the applicable water level of the mark. The progressive lowering of the water into the gauge glass indicate that the water leak with the cooling system should be reported. Figure 3-6 is the water level of the instruction plate with the wool and run and full and stop, low and stop. Normally there should be no need at the water, but the cooling system would start with extended intervals. Maintenance the filling system, filling the cooling system. Cooling should be with the engine. Cooling should be made with the tested within the corner for the instruction period. But the section 9 with the engine maintenance manual with the operating conditions such for the antifreeze essential with the coolant, which should be made with the testing corner for the coolant maintenance instructions listed in the sort of the tab page. The system fills with the filter, so the fill with the filler opening located at the top of the engine water with the expansion tank with the water added until the reach with the full mark of the upper of the instruction plate with the water cycle. After the care must be taken with the we're in the final stage of the preventing of the overfilling. The overfill drain plate provided with the lab with the runoff of the overfilling the excessive water expansion during the operation. After filling the dry and the nearly dry sift of the engine should be run with the fill it with the cap to remove the eliminate air pocket with the system. After the running of the engine check the water level is necessary for the add the water and system. Note the drain with the cooling system will then trip the low water to shut down the device. Therefore, the filling of the cooling system with low water reset with the button must be pressed before immediately after engine starting. After the filling of the operation had been completed before starting the engine, the pressure cap should be replaced with the cap to prevent the loss of the water due to the evaporation during the operation. Limited the maximum pressure for the oil of the cooling system to provide with the better cooling with the engine. The cap, the figure 3-4 was designed to open and relieve the system of the excessive pressure during operation, while the system is cooling the down. After the operation, slightly vacuum the blade to develop with the construction or the contraction of the water. The pressure cap is designed to relieve the vacuum by allowing the atmospheric pressure to enter the system and replace the vacuum, draining the cooling system. Engine cooling system should be drained with an vent with a diesel engine to stop the danger of the freezing as if the danger draining the procedure is followed. Move the filler cap, open the cooling system, drain valve figure 3-2 located at the floor of the engine. This will drain the engine radiator of the water tank of the oil cooler, the air compressor for the cab heater to provide with the cab heater supply to return the valves to open the cab heater supply and the return the valve to open the emergency cab heater drain valve 3-2 with the caution if the hot end of the engine drain always leave the engine cool before the refilling the pressure coolant operating with the engine water sample the engine of the engine coolant is desired should be obtained with the engine warm and the running of the coolant should be taken from the point with the water flow for the turbulent with the reach but the sample that should not be obtained with the drain with the water of the level of the cycle last. It is recommended that the quarter-inch pipe plug with the be removed from the flange of the right bank of the water pump well with the valve be inserted in place with the water sample that may be then easily obtained with the idle seal and bailing conditions. Alright, you're testing engine water with temperature switch to pick up at the dropout, check for the temperature switch to be effectively performed on locomotive without special equipment, without the laborious for the type of the consuming of the subject engine with the low for the disabling of the fan for the region for the recommended for the routine check for the temperature switch operating for the intervals recommended with the scheduled maintenance program. Any check resulting with the suspected faulty operation may be made with a bench check with the test operative with the temperature switch for the E7 to easily remove the temperature switch of the manifold replaced with the new gasket. New switches after the replacement switch of the new gaskets attached held with ready position. Old switch of the gasket can be removed with the new switch insert with the old small loss for the engine coolant. The correct part number of the replacement switch for the may be readily available on the server data page with the bulk of the entire locomotive wire running list. This is supplied with the locomotive wiring diagram. The parts number of the running of the list is its reference to the low right with the corner of the wire diagram. The test push button adjusting screw under the hex cap screw, electrical cab receptacle, temperature sensing bulb, figure 3-7 of the engine temperature switch. After replacing the switch and install with the engine with the running with the press of the switch, test the push button sequence to verify when the fan operation. Caution: do not press the switch, test the push button simultaneously. Allow the top of the given fan to pick up the speed with the pressing with the test of the push button to bring more than one fan. Alright, instruction for the checking the temperature switch reference, the service tab of the sheet, instruction for the construction of the bench testing apparatus to be obtained with the service department electric motor division with the requesting information for the listed service tab of the page. Note that any of the test temperature switches critical factors such as circulation of the testing bath over to prevent the satisfaction immersion with the temperature of the bulb with the proper depth with the aim and the temperature approximating the engine room conditions must be observed. Indication faulty switch operation, false hot engine indication due to the incorrect engine temperature switch pickup. The oil shutdown with the hot engine oil with the faulty engine cooling system engine temperature did not operate properly. Temperature switch cooling temperature switch cycling pickup up the two with the soon after the dropout with the switch open during the starting with the surge of the fuel fan contactor. There may be the damage with the possible with the tips of the welded clove with the damage of the fan motor with the D14 alternators so if is possible. Two fan contactors must be picked up at the same time with the contactor with the curve of the switch is made operating and properly incorrect switch with the install with the strong starting surge can result in such a condition cover the damage of the D14 alternator condition for the note of the delay shaft with the fans come in and the may also be indicated with the deflection loading indicating meter needle caused by the disturbance in the generator excitation system. A cold engine may result with a weld of the fan contactor tip must from the sticking with the temperature switch push buttons. Testing for the low water shutdown. Operation for the low water shutdown device figure 3.5 should be checked with the interval should be the scheduled maintenance program whenever the faulty operation is suspected. Engine idle running with the test cock with the handle horizontal position low with the water reset button should be pop out smoothly without hesitation after the water is trapped. The operation of the diaphragm and escape through the drain hole provided within no more than a few seconds at a time. Note that the low oil plunger of the governor also pops out when the engine shuts down. If the low water shutdown preset push button does not pop out freely without the assistance of the test cock is open with the engine idle, the device should be removed and replaced with the operating device. Refer to the data page for the listing and instruction cover the maintenance for this qualification. Low water protector setting apparatus required for the proper in testing. Inspection over the cleaning of the radiator. The success of the cover between the engine room with the radiator compartment that must always securely bolted with the place during the locomotive operation. Cover the new place and improve the circulation of the cooling water. Resist the slide of the pressurization engine room with the provide with the cooling oil air from the main generator will loss. Periodic inspection cleaning of the radiator should be performed with the minimal intervals called with the scheduled maintenance program. The more frequent interval to determine the operation condition whenever the trouble is suspected, since the pressurized system will require only rare additional of the water with any progressive low watering level to indicate that the inspection should be made with the leaks. For the inspection, carefully leave a small leak for the called weep of the junction for the radiator of the tubes and the headers. Remember the application of the clean dry compressor for the stop of the strip of the radiator of the flow by the reverse operation for the cooling fans for the satisfactory cleaning of the radiator cores of the radiator compartment. Reverse operation for the cooling fans could be easily accomplished in interchange with the pushing with the two AC lead for the bolt of the bus's connection with the fan contact for the AC cabinet with the lead for the indicated with the figure 3A with the reverse of the AC leads to the alternating terminal blower, not with the recommended to be covered with the dirt evacuation of the blower of the central air compartment. The compartment will be also reversed. After the AC leads have been reversed, the fan operation can be controlled by the pressing for the testing of the push button with the main fold mounted with the engine water temperature switch. Figure 3.2 of the two plans must be working with to ensure the automatic operation of the radiator shutter. Figure 3.8 show the AC cable terminals to be reversed for the reverse cooling and fan. You have your AC fan 1, terminal 1, 2, and 3, reverse the 2 liters of the reverse cooling fan operation. Caution, when you use the fan test push button, be careful to not accidentally release the push button during the starting of the surge of the current. Be sure to allow the given fan time to speed up before testing the pressure on another button. Make certain that the AC cables are returned to the proper connection points after the radiator cleaning is completed. Hard surface data for the cooling system, temperature controlling hot air and alarm switch of the MI55-1, engine cooling MI1748, engine water temperature treatment, engine maintenance manual section 9, maintenance and qualification low water detector MI259, cooling lube water, cooler lube oil MI927, route, maintenance parts, equipment low water detector qualification test apparatus, thermometer well 1/4 inch plug, temperature switch, manifold, gasket, drain cock, 1 1/4 inch plug, the specifications, switch temperatures for the temperature switch A, B, and C, and the engine temperature switch, pickups and dropout part, and pressure cap 7 psi, special 12 psi pressure cap assembly. This has been Locomotive Section 3, Surface Manual, Cooling System EDM. This is the SD, applies to the SD45.